What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Cannaflix. The show's going to get started very shortly. Just like every week, we've got a pretty cool guest lined up for you. Things are going to get started here very shortly. It's another big Sunday over here on Cannaflix, guys. We got Jordan River lined up for you, and things are going to get started here very shortly. Grab your buds, grab your buddy, grab your water, grab whatever you're grabbing, because I'm going to grab another jukebox and get those tunes going again. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Cannaflix, man. We've got a busy Sunday lined up for you guys, man. Lots of crazy shows going on, but it's always starting over here on Cannaflix, guys. And remember, this show is brought to you by Fast Bud Genetics, and you're going to have a chance to win some Fast Bud Genetics on this live, guys. All you're going to have to do is put in hashtag FastBud Giveaway. But you guys know that because you guys have been tuning in every week because we're bringing on banger guest after banger guest. And this week, guys, we've got another banger lined up for you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show from Growcast, Jordan River. What's going on, my man? How you doing, man?
Hey, everybody. Hey, man. How's it going, Joe? Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Dude, I'm more excited to have you on here, man, because I seen your shit way before I even started creating content, man. Like, the Growcast was one of the first podcasts that came across me. Like, these guys started sending me this stuff to check out. And to be honest with you, man, you've got a very unique way of looking at things and a very scientific approach to growing, which I don't have. So I'm excited to kind of see why you decide to grow like this. And ultimately, at the end of this, I'm thinking about going to soil, man. I'm thinking about doing what you're doing and getting healthy in the garden, man. So without getting into it too deep, right off the bat, let everyone know who you are and where you come from, man.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I am Jordan River. I'm the host of Growcast Podcast. We are a cannabis cultivation podcast. Started the show, turned on the mics back in 2014, 2015. I was growing in Humboldt County at the time. I moved out there to kind of pursue my dream of working in the cannabis industry. Ended up connecting with a couple of people out there who taught me how to grow. My co-host and longtime guest, Wolfman, out there in Humboldt. And we're always talking about growing out there when we were hanging out together. We'd say, let's not talk about growing. Let's just hang out and we'll barbecue and we'll do other stuff. And then next thing you know, it's like, well, my pH was drifting and, well, I'm dealing with this problem and that problem. Okay, well, if we're going to talk about this every time we get together, we might as well turn on the microphones. So that's what we did. And that's what started Growcast. I found myself very privileged to have an audience that wanted to learn how to grow. My mission is to get as many people growing in whatever style suits them and overgrow the nation. I feel that we have a very limited time right now with the way that legislation and culture is to establish home growing as a true hallmark of American society and get our roots in there, so to speak, so that they can't so easily rip those rights away. So that's my whole mission. I've been doing the show now. It's my full-time job now for a few years because it's grown, and I'm very, very privileged to serve my podcast audience and also my membership community, who I work hard for every single day. So
you've got a pretty unique,
in a nutshell.
You got a pretty unique membership program, man. Like, I talked to a few of the people that are in your membership program, and the amount of information, man, the style of the information, your cadence and delivery's got something very unique to it, man. So it's like, it's enjoyable, but you also feel like you're being coached and you're being taught, right? Which is pretty unique. Now, you said something weird about this legislation. So I come from Canada, so it's 100% legal here to grow in your home. Now, obviously in the States, it's all over the fucking map, like you know, right? Now, so you have a fear that like they might take that away from people, you think?
1,000%. I think that is probably what's more likely to happen than not. And the reason that is because these multi-state operators, these corporations, are trying to expand to a kind of national network like you have in Canada, and they're trying to stamp out their competition and buy up their competition so they can have a larger market share, because at the end of the day, they're after profits. They're not for the patients. They're a business. That's what businesses do. What else do you expect? Once they have a way to kind of have their foothold nationally, they're going to turn their attention to home growers. I truly believe this. I think they're going to try to demonize your ability to home grow. I think they're going to use things like THC caps. Oh, we don't want this high THC weed, so we're going to put a cap, and it's only should be this strong of medicine. And you can't grow at home because who knows what that seed could produce. That's unsafe. I truly think they're going to do that, and history shows that they're likely to do that. If you look back at alcohol prohibition, a lot of people don't know that post-prohibition, after they legalized alcohol consumption again, they illegalized home brewing, and home brewers had to put up a hell of a fight to get back their right to brew their own beer at home. And I got news for you. The cannabis industry threatens way more big other industry in this country than alcohol does. So it's going to be an even harder road, and that's why we need to get as many people growing as we can now. So again, it's harder to take that away from what we've really proliferated into the society.
Okay, so I never fucking thought about it like that, man. But like, I feel like I'm on the same page. Like, I'm the only reason I even do this and create content and teach people how to grow. It's not because I'm a fucking good grower. I'm a mediocre grower, but I've got a good ability to connect with people and to show people that this is pretty fucking easy to do. And anybody could do it. But I didn't realize that you thinking that, man. I never thought that. But I'll be honest with you, like in my local town now, like if I go to the dispensary, outside of the dispensary, now it's like, what's in your stuff? And it's like dog shit could be in your stuff. Cat shit could be in your stuff. They're already like marketing you to like think like there's stuff in your stuff because they don't want you to buy it black market. But I mean, growing it on your own shit should be 100% fucking legal, man.
That's a really, really good point. And there is this common misconception that white market legal weed is somehow inherently safer than homegrown or black market weed. I got news for you. I know a lot of black market growers, and I knew some that used harmful pesticides. But I also got news for you. Go and look up all these articles that are coming out about these MSO corporations who are using pesticides, toxic fungicides, completely unnecessarily, by the way. There's no reason you should have to use a product like Eagle 20.
Why do you think they're using them then? Just for yield?
Well, they use it because they don't have the traditional artisan gardening practices. The reason why MSOs struggle so much is they look at cannabis as a commodity, and they say, okay, I see this feed chart. I know how to grow it. I'm going to pay someone $15 an hour to grow it. And when they get powdery mildew, they don't have a legacy grower, a real expert to say, there's a reason you got this powdery mildew. Your humidity is too high, and there's not enough airflow within the room, and you didn't defoliate enough so leaves are laying on top of each other. And that's not how these people look at it because they're not cultivators. They're business owners. They say, how can I throw money at this problem to get rid of it? Oh, powdery mildew ruined this crop. What do you spray to get rid of powdery mildew? And then some idiot says Eagle 20, which has been proven to be harmful to human biology, very harmful. And people spray Eagle 20 for something as simple as powdery mildew, which can be knocked out with 1,000 other natural methods. So there's
a very unique approach, dude. I like that approach. Like it's almost, and it's across all avenues, man. Whether you're growing weed or you're going to the fucking doctor to get something looked at, it's like we're just putting these fucking band-aids on our plants. Then initially is what you're telling me. That's what these people are doing. So, like, exactly right. You're all about this natural approach to it, man. Like, were you always doing that? I mean, you started in fucking Humboldt in the woods somewhere. Like, when did you find this passion to keep it so clean, dude?
That's a really good point. I think that there's a really important distinction here, which is I support growers of all types. A lot of people know us for our work in like microbiology and living soil and stuff like that, which I do have experience growing in, but I didn't start that way. However, I always was told to be a responsible farmer. When Wolfman got me growing and he was getting me on bottled nutrients, he told me to stay away from Eagle 20 and stay away from this shit. The black market Humboldt guys, like the real responsible good guys, know all this stuff. So yeah, they were using salts, but like in an indoor grow. And I believe you can garden responsibly in a lot of different ways. And you can also have a soil grow and garden irresponsibly, by the way. We can't really like nitpick each other as a community. I feel that only divides us, right? If you say, oh, you're using this type of input in your soil or that type of input in your soil, focus on what matters to you from like a sustainability and health standpoint and go after that, right? And try to lead by example to other people instead of saying, hey, you should and shouldn't do this. But I was always told to stay away from the really toxic shit, the really toxic big ag chemicals, even the black market super illegal Humboldt growers were like, yo, don't use that shit. If you're especially going to be smoking it, don't use that shit. They knew. They knew.
It's basically just like the grandfathers passing down the knowledge to the grandkids and so on and so forth. And you point out something that's like, this conversation, first off, chat, I didn't expect it to go here right off the bat. I love where this is headed because
you're a good host, man. We're flowing.
I honestly, like, I wanted to just get into where you came from, but you kind of intrigued me, man, because, like, I do have a decent-sized platform now, and I'm not educated enough on really what I'm using, man, for products, right? And, like, I feel like I chose the products that I use, and I use the products I use because I built these relationships with people. Now, but deep down, there could be something harmful in one of my products that I'm not really aware of, right? So it is true to get those growers in your circles, man, and they're all in the chat now, guys, and one of them's on here on the show talking it. So I think it's just a matter of time, right, before this education kind of lightens all of us, and we all decide, hey, let's be as clean as possible.
And let me be clear. You have to go out of your way to use the type of stuff I'm talking about. Things like avermectin. This is a harmful chemical pesticide. This isn't at your grocery store. Pylon, Eagle 20. These are things that are illegal in some states because of how harmful they are. Now, what you're talking about is like taking a look at how your grow is working right now, and then seeing how you can become like more sustainable and more eco-friendly and more healthy for yourself and the planet, right?
Yeah, I think that's what we need to do, right? We always need to get better, right? We're always trying to get better, and if I can become more clean, then that's going to be better for anybody. And at the end of the day, there's young people, there's older people, there's people that are investing all they have to get started growing. And if I put them in the wrong direction, well, then that's on me, right? But I've only been doing this for 5 years, man. But like, we have a voice, and some people think that we're the all end all be all. I'm learning just as you guys. That's one of the reasons why I got you on here, man. Because realistically, what's the first step to becoming more clean, man? Like, what would you do, or what would you push these guys in what direction if they were just getting started?
Absolutely. I love to speak on this subject, man. But what you said is super important, Joe. And I like how humble you are, and how you're kind of approaching this from like the beginner's attitude, even though I do think you have quite a bit of knowledge. The more you know, the more there is to know. But I like to get people started on a method that works for them. It's like a diet. There's all these studies that talk about diet and which diet is best. And the biggest study on diet showed that the best diet is the one that you stick to. It's a weird thing, which is like, I want these growers to succeed their first time and get on something that works. Then we can take a look at, okay, what are you using to keep pests away? Let's take a look at pesticides, for example. You say, how can we be cleaner? The worst thing you can use are like harmful neurotoxic chemicals, which any good cannabis grow store, like I said, you don't really find those on the shelves. These are things like avermectin that are known to cause seizures in humans. That's all the really, really bad stuff. Then move on to things that are a little bit more controversial, like certain plant oils. Let's take neem oil, for instance. Neem oil is a very effective pesticide. It comes from a tree, a neem tree, and it's this sticky, oily substance that kills pests, dissolves hard-bodied insects, smothers soft-bodied and hard-bodied insects. It's a really nice pesticide. However, spraying it and inhaling it is not good for humans. We have studies on this. It makes you sick. It can cause all sorts of disease. You don't want to spray it on your flowers. I don't spray my flowers with anything that leaves any residue at all. And neem oil is one of those things that's a little more controversial. Yes, it's natural. Yes, it's going to work on the pests, but it's not harmful for you. It's not good for you. It's harmful to the human, right? That's all part of this sustainability thing, is like, you are part of that. So you need to think about your own health and think about your pesticide applications. Even things like essential oil-based sprays, which I use sometimes and love. These are products that you do find in the grocery store. Things like Mammoth Can Control is an oil-based product. Petra Tools Crop Defender is an oil-based product, although it has a little bit of other firepower in it.
I've got a question about that, actually.
Sure.
I need to ask you this because they just admitted this, so, which is pretty huge, I think, for a company to do. But there is something on here. Sodium sulfate, sodium lauryl sulfate. Am I saying it right?
Sulfur. Yep.
So is this the bad part that's in here?
Well, it's a sulfur product, right? I don't know specifically what the sodium lauryl sulfate, how that would differ from like a elemental sulfur.
What I'm trying to get at is there was an okay chemical in the Crop Defender, but it wasn't like the best. And they're changing this right now.
Oh, interesting.
I find
I
that
didn't know.
super fucking cool, man. Because how do I know? Because they mentioned it to me. So Ben mentioned to me that there's, I can't remember the name of it because I'm not that dude, man. Like, I'm not an educated, mindful thinking grower. I'm like you're saying, man. I'm the grower that you're talking to, the one that literally figured out how it worked for himself, and then put those applications together. Now I just follow a process. I'm teaching that process in a way that's like, hey, this is how I do it, but there's like a million different ways to do this, right?
That is the absolute. I feel that is the absolute game theory optimal approach to getting as many people growing as you can. Exactly what you just described. But here's a little something. I want to say this on the subject of sodium lauryl sulfate. This is a little tip, a little trick that Mary Beth Sanchez taught me that'll help of us lay people understand what's on the back of a bottle. The prefix sulf is from sulfur, obviously, so that's a sulfur compound. But anytime you see the suffix ate, nitrate, sulfate, phosphate, if it's ATE, then it is virtually every time uptakeable by a plant. This means if you look at your GNC supplement bottle and you turn it around and you see things in your vitamins that have 8, those could technically be absorbed into your plant. You could crush those pills up and give it to your plant. That's the same reason why Epsom salts, which we use as bath salts to relax our muscles and give us magnesium, that is magnesium sulfate. That's a hint that it is uptakeable and, in fact, a good input for a garden.
That's such a simple way to explain it, man. That's pretty interesting.
So hold on to that one for your audience. A little trick. Shout out to Mary Beth Sanchez. Now, back to what you said about crop defender and the subject pesticides. You're traditionally not supposed to mix sulfur and oils, right? But Crop Defender has a small amount of sulfur, which, by the way, is a great natural pesticide. Sulfur works really, really well. You never want to spray it on flower, but if you're in veg, it is probably my number one pick, especially in an outdoor setting. I know I'm just dumping knowledge here, but another sulfur issue is make sure that if you're in an indoor setting, you do not spray your lights with anything that has sulfur in it. Be very, very cognizant. You shouldn't be spraying your lights ever, but be very, very cognizant that no sulfur makes it up onto those diodes, especially in these new LED lights, because the sulfur degrades them and will cause your light to break much sooner than it would otherwise. So the light manufacturers say take your light out of the space, but just be very, very conscious of it. Dr. Coco is the one who told me about that.
Now, ideally in that situation, sorry, man, to cut you off, but ideally if you're in a situation where you can control your environment and VPD and everything's dialed in, you're fucking controlling everything at every angle, wouldn't you really just want to go after predators at that point and have predators in there to take care of those pests? Or does that run into an issue? Because I've never done anything like that. Have you done anything like that?
So I've spoken to a lot of guests who use predator mites, and I have myself ordered them and used them in an indoor setting. And I've found to be true what Mary Beth said. One of my big mentors, Mary Beth Sanchez, said would be true, which is it's really hard to sustain those populations indoors. They need something to feed on. It's a much more applicable approach to an outdoor setting, I feel, but also just a larger indoor space. I feel like the hardest place to apply predatory beneficial insects and keep them around is how I grow tent. They're going to need something to feed on, and once they eat whatever's afflicting your plants, then they're going to run out of food. Now you can provide them with certain foods, pollen-producing plants, things like pepper plants. I think you can even get pollen tabs that basically feed these things, but it becomes a lot of work. What I recommend is just sticking to a spray schedule and using something really, really natural. I use sulfur and oil-based sprays like Crop Defender and others as my big boys. Those are the ones that really fucking kill insects and smother them, and you don't want to use them every single time because oil does clog the stomata just slightly. You don't want to apply it over and over and over. But I alternate between that and then a product that's like an enzyme-based product, like the amazing Dr. Zymes. They're not a sponsor or anything, but they make a pesticide product that's very, very gentle. It's not going to knock out the hardest of insects, but it's so natural. You guys can't get it up in Canada, I hear, which is a shame. I'd love to get you some of this stuff.
Surprisingly.
Oh, you got some?
Yeah, I've got 2 bottles. I can't get to them quick, but pardon?
You know Zymes then. Leaves no residue.
100%.
All that fun stuff.
I think the other name company isn't coming to my mind right now, but there is a Canadian product that's very similar.
Is it Pure Crop One?
Something like that. I wouldn't be able to give you 100%. I'd have to search it, but I think it is. It's not like an equivalent. I think it's kind of like a really cheap knockoff version of it.
Right.
Uh,
So it's like there's all these different pesticide options, and you just try to look at this bottle and say, okay, what classification is this? Is this one of those oil-based sprays? Is this a sulfur-based spray? Is this an enzyme-based spray? And use it appropriately, because if it's just enzymes, you can apply that in flour. There is no residue. Nothing is left on the flour.
Now, I would almost consider you like this weird young fella pest, really professional, man. Like, you've got this dialed in. You've got the pest shit under control with a few partners that you're working with, man. And you've got a new fucking course coming up, man.
Oh, thank you, bro. Thank you.
What's the course that's coming up?
Let me be clear. I've learned a lot about pests from awesome guests like Mary Beth Sanchez, Matthew Gates, who we're doing the pest class with, Alexandria Irons. These are all people who have taught me a lot of things about IPM. I'm not sure I have control. I still get pests. It sucks. I'm like you, man. I like do as I say, not as I do. You know what I mean? You ever find yourself in that situation? You create a lot of content, bro. Your social content is really engaging and badass, and I frankly I look up to it quite a bit. And you create a lot of content, and it's hard balancing content and a garden. It's hard balancing a family and a garden, a full-time demanding job and a garden. Like, I appreciate the compliments, but damn, dude, I saw some thrift damage just the other day, and I was like, are you kidding me right now? But I will learn more about thrips at Pestapalooza with Matthew Gates. That is, here we go. Look at that production. Shout out. So yeah,
thanks to producers down here. There's no fucking producers.
That was crisp timing right there.
This is taking place in San Diego, man.
We got Long Island and San Diego on the books right now, but we're going to do other cities as well. And we've been doing these classes for a long time. We did the Living Soil Masterclass with Alexandria Irons, shout out. And then now we're doing the Breeder class with Rizo Rich. We're doing Pestapalooza with Matthew Gates. And we're going to take a look at a hash class as well. That's another thing.
No way. Listen, man, I've been getting into the hash a lot lately, man. I'm loving, man, pressing up some product and smoking it, man. I've never experienced the flavor before. Like, I literally just started dabbing for the first time, man. So now I'm trying out new dab rigs. I'm like getting into an area that I've never really experienced, man. Where's that course?
Changer, right?
Where's that course at?
That one's just being cooked up. That was a little teaser. I actually think that was I've never said that before. So that was a teaser that the hash class is coming. But yeah, dude, whole new world with the hash, right? You're up there in Canada. You wait till you get out in the freezing cold, give it a wash, break all that stuff down. It's really, really great.
So how much of a difference are you going to notice? So what I did last time, man, I left midway through my harvest, man, and I had to travel down to MJ BizCon, and I had some girls left in here, so I just left all the bottoms on my plants. I took all the tops, trimmed them up, got them fucking curing right away. But when I came back, luckily, my grow room was completely dialed in, so my temps were perfect for curing, so they kind of just cured on the vine, which is pretty unique, right? The flavor was still phenomenal, but they really weren't smokable. They were super kind of like crunchy a little bit just from kind of sitting there, so I froze them immediately. And then I just kind of broke that up over some screens and then pressed that. How much of a difference are you going to get from automatically freezing that and washing it to like that process of time of, let's say, 2 to 3 weeks?
Well, this is an interesting subject because I am by no means any experts, but I am by no means an expert, but I've spoken to many experts on my show.
Well, an opinion. It's just an opinion, right?
There's
the only experts that are on this show right now, there might be one of them in the comments. There may be one, but the rest of them here are all just my grow buddies that love to hang out in this community, man, that are just looking for, realistically, knowledge comes off the top of the head. Now, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, it worked for you, man, so it's going to work for somebody else, right? So it's just an opinion.
Just a caveat, but let me be specific then. People like Terp Wizard. Shout out to Terp Wizard. He's a fucking awesome hash maker, and he's just really good at answering questions on the lives and on the show. And he said, and a lot of other master hash makers feel this way, he said that one of the reasons that people focus so much on fresh frozen, that's a specific way I'm putting that. One of the reasons that people focus so much on fresh frozen and why people tend to harvest sooner when they're making hash is because of the color that the rosin comes out. It comes out that beautiful, light, blonde, almost white sometimes color. and people shop with their eyes. And if you grew that strain out longer and didn't harvest early and let it amber up, and if half your harvest and instead of flash freezing it did cured rosin, it would come out way darker. I mean, way darker. It's like amber, almost as dark as like old school like Temple Ball hash. And a lot of people are like, "What is this?" The consumers who are shopping with their eyes, but it's very, very enjoyable. Some people say more enjoyable. So it changes the compounds within the trichomes themselves. The more you age strains, there's a reason why people have that like, oh, run it extra long for couch lock effect. That's because of changes that are taking place in the trichome head. Specifically, many strains convert THC into CBN. When you're seeing that ambering of the trichome head, a lot of times that late flower transition is happening right there. Now, not all plants are capable of having this transmutation, but many do. So there's actually a scientific reason to why like letting it run longer equals more of a couch lock high. So you could achieve more of that in your rosin if you let it run longer. But then if you take it to try to, sell it because you're a hash maker and you're trying to make a living, people are like, this is dark. I want something really, really light. Yeah. So a lot of people shop with their eyes. You will find a different effect if you do cured or non-flash frozen. And it's up to you if you like that effect more. It's probably going to be a little more stony.
I thought it was a bit of the fucking sale, man. Like, because everything in this industry is sale because these motherfuckers that did it before all of us had to really sell their shit, man. I say it a million times on here. Like, I remember going to a guy, he had Bubba Kush, and the next guy had fucking double Bubba Kush. And at that point, man, I didn't even believe these motherfuckers were growing these strains, right? Until I actually started growing, I thought they were making these fucking names up out of the blue air. And they still are today. I mean, there's a couple strains out there. One of them's called Titty Sprinkles. You made that up, dude. There's no fucking titty sprinkles out there. You need to relax. But it's funny, man.
Out of words, though? I feel like we're running out of words.
I didn't realize that it was fucking that bad, dude. But they are selling us on everything, man. Yeah, we're getting sold on everything.
And the hash makers don't mind because you get to harvest it sooner, right? But if you want that connoisseur quality, do yourself a favor and run it extra long and try it that way. And try one run with cured rosin. I think I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure that the yield also goes down drastically with the cured rosin. But I've been given some cured rosin that was dark and it was fucking very flavorful and super stony and just different. You can feed me all types of hash, man. Listen, I'm not partisan with my hash. You know what I mean? Bring it on. Yeah, like, dry ice.
Hash is like pussy to me. I mean, I'll take it.
Absolutely, man.
Exactly. Jeez. Oh man, we're X-rated now on here, but it is true, man. Like,
allowed to do that,
and I think it's all
allowed to say fucking. Okay, this is Twitch. This is great.
Yeah, we're allowed to say fuck, shit, poop, asshole, whatever, man. Heather don't care. Sometimes I get out of hand over here. But we all got a lot of cool people here. But it is true, man. I mean, and then you got the connoisseurs. Like, I seen this. There's this fucking wine video on YouTube, and it's like, my husband's a wine connoisseur, and he's like fucking listening to the wine. There's crazy dudes out there, man. Like, you'll hand them a joint, they're like, I'm like, what are you doing, dude, man? Just fucking smoke the thing. Like, I'll be known to do just a little bit of a fucking dry haul, but I'm not like, hey, man, I'm getting West Vermont's notes on this, man. Like, this is like, there comes a point where you're fucking bullshitting, dude. You're bullshitting. You know what I'm saying?
This is so funny. Yeah, he's giving it a sniff, and then he just takes a little nibble off.
Yeah, he's just like,
did you just nibble it? Did you just eat that, bud? It's got a nice chew. It's got a nice mouthfeel.
So when you do this rosin course, man, like, so do you do both methods? Like, what are you doing, man? If you're going to harvest right now, what's your process look like? Because I'm interested in getting into this.
I've only made bubble hash. I would be a first-time presser. Let me be very, very clear with these GrowCast Grow classes. What we want to do with this is find the leading experts in their fields and then have them be the instructor for our class. I'm always there to like guide people along, and I have input as well. But who I'm teaming up with to kind of put this whole thing together is Nick Nikolaev. He's been on my show a few times. He's from Rooted Leaf Nutrients, and we put on a really great class out east. And he's going to get some rosin producers, and we're going to put on a hash class. And here's how we put it together. And this is still in the works. Like I said, this is a tease, so nothing's set in stone. But here's what our initial idea was, which is like, okay, so ideally you're like using a freeze dryer during this process, and it's like $3,000. how are we going to work through this? And we decided that the best way to educate is to show the kind of optimal way, the expensive way, the way that the people at the highest level of the industry are doing it, and then also show kind of the next best thing. Like, we understand not all of you can afford this $3,000 freeze dryer. Here's the alternative. So we're going to teach freeze drying and air drying. The first part of the day is going to be making bubble, and the second part of the day is going to be pressing it into rosin. It's catered. There's going to be gift bags that come with a bunch of hash stuff, and we basically turn these classes into a bit of a party as well. And you can stick around and talk to the instructors after and get all your questions answered. After like lockdown and everything, I made this mission to get as many people. Like once everything was back to normal, I wanted to get as many people back into these real in-person meetings in the meat world, in the flesh, and just really meet these growers one-on-one and create that community. That was my number one goal, and it's really worked out. It's just like, I love educating remotely, and I will continue to do it every single day. I wake up and I work for the Order of Cultivation, my membership program, but there's nothing quite like these classes where you can be like, okay, Matthew Gates is right here. He just talked to me for 3 hours about pests. I've got this list of questions, and you're going to be able to sit with them for 20 minutes while you eat pulled pork or whatever,
right,
and get all your shit answered. Like, that's how you reach the highest echelons of education and skill level to this cultivation game, man.
100%.
So
you got to let me know when if the hash class happens. Try to give me as much notice as you possibly can. I might look at, we might be able to put that in the schedule somehow, because come April 14th, chat, this is the first time anybody's heard this on the air. But come April 14th, Grower Joe is going to be full-time content creating for cannabis. So big shout out to you guys for helping me get to that point. So
congrats, man. That's fucking awesome.
It's huge,
that
dude.
Is,
and I want to do what you want to do, man. We kind of got some of the same goals, dude, and we're all linking in between these communities. I would love to try to check that out, man, because I think it'd be cool, because you're going to get not only will you get a goofy dude that fucking loves cannabis, but I'm genuinely interested, and I think it might be something cool to capture that so we can share that with more people.
I am all in, man. It's 100% going to happen, and the first class will be at LI Hydro on Long Island, so it'll be East Coast. We do Buffalo, which is right across from Toronto. I don't know how close you are to Toronto.
Wait, where was the first place?
Long Island, New York.
Yeah. So Buffalo, New York. Like, how far is Long Island from me? I should probably just get another fucking joint, eh, guys? Like, I puffed on this roach 3 times to relight it. You know you're having a good conversation when the joint's out, but you still try to puff it, guys. You know what I'm saying? Where's this? Where's this location? What's it called? Long Island. What's the place called?
Shout out LI Hydro.
LI Hydro.
Awesome. I cannot say enough good things about this garden store. They're just so cool. Shout out to everybody at LI Hydro.
LI Hydro, Long Island.
Yep.
This is the place right here.
Shout out to Nick.
This is it right here, Long Island.
Let me see. LI Hydro. Yep, the one and only. And we taught our class at the Bethpage location, and it was just so nice, dude. So that's where the first hash class is going to be, and it's still in the works. So
Well, we're going to check, man, because this might be driving distance, guys. And if there's anyone in the chat from that area, I want to meet more people, right? So,
well, stay in touch, man. Yeah, we're bringing the breeder class to Buffalo.
How far is a drive is that, guys? That's not that far, guys. We're 9 hours, man. We're 9 hours, guys.
Oh, bro.
That's doable, dude. We could do that.
I got you.
Yeah, we can make that happen, man.
I'm most interested in the hash class, though, it sounds like. That's what everyone's been telling me, is like, hey, I'm pretty good at growing now. Like, I learned from a guy who taught me a method that works. Like, I got some good harvests, and then they come to me and they're like, I would love to learn more about, the nutrients in my feed, the soil, all these things. But what I really want to learn about is how do I make this into hash? That rosin stuff that everybody's been, how do I make that?
Well, man, I've been pushing it like crazy, man, because personally, like, I don't like smoking. Like, I don't like putting smoke into my body. I don't think it's good for any of us, man. I really don't. I mean, it just makes sense, right? It's like shoving shit up your asshole, guys. You shouldn't do it. But try it a couple times, it's okay. But I'm looking for alternatives, man. I'm looking for less smoking. And when I hit either this or another dab rig, and like a controlled dab, you take a dab off this, man, it's very little smoke, but you still get the same experience, and I don't feel heavy inside of my chest. Now, I am lying because I do enjoy smoking too at the same time. Like, these joints are enjoyable. There's something relaxing about the inhaling, but the flavor's on another level, man.
You're
So I'm
right.
pushing everything
You're
that
right
way.
though, dude. I'm a fan of all the genres, but like I like smoking, and I know that smoke isn't optimal, but there's something about having something. I'm a fucking pyromaniac at the end of the day. Like that's literally what I think it
Are
is.
you smoking morning, noon, afternoon, all day, every day? You're that was one of the guys?
Usually, but like when shit takes me away, I'm fucking busy. You know what I mean? I'm working in the garden here. I'm hot. I'm sweaty. I just jumped on this live because I'm super busy. And what happens is sometimes I don't smoke as much as I like would if I wasn't fucking. You know what I mean? You
I
ever have those
think,
days where
yeah,
I'm a
man.
coffee guy though, Joe? I'm a coffee guy. So I start with a fucking cup of coffee, and then if I got shit to do and I can't stop till the afternoon, I might smoke till a little bit later. But if I'm just left to my own devices, I'll smoke in the morning. I'll smoke in the afternoon.
They're a
Take a little
cool
nap.
dynamic
Wake
duo,
up, smoke.
man. Coffee and cannabis kind of go hand in hand, man. I mean, I don't smoke. I don't drink coffee. I'm kind of like a water guy, and I'll treat myself to pop every now and then.
Mhm.
But I just don't care for coffee. But coffee is like that energy bean as well, right? It gives you that energy that kind of cross references very similar effects to cannabis on certain notes. Like me personally, man, I find I'm smoking now mostly for like mindfulness, man. There's a level of mindfulness I like to get to. I don't like to smoke to get obliterated anymore. And I'm sitting on the couch stuck into TikTok videos or watching grow content on here, right? I find I'm literally watching probably more grow content than anybody. And I'm creating that much content too. Like, are you the same way?
That's wild, man. I love that. I don't have time to consume content, and when you know what, that's a lie. I absolutely do, and I will consume other types of content. Like I'll listen to history, or I'll listen to comedy a lot.
I love comedy.
And you're right, dude. I love what you said about usage, which is everybody has these like different goals for their usages, right? And mindfulness, that's fucking awesome, bro. Like that is a great way to use plant medicines to aid your quality of life.
And I mean
That
that,
is
like,
really,
I
really
want to
cool.
get to like, I consider myself a bit of a weird artist, man. Like, I've been making content for a long time. It's only been this niche for the last 5 years because that's when I started finding cannabis. But, like, there's something about creating something, right? And cannabis really, like, brings me into that zone and just makes me a little
Oh
bit
yeah.
more free. I don't know if it lets down walls or it lets out this certain energy, man, but like you've been in the garden all day, man. Is the garden like a pastime that for you? Like almost like some people go to the gym? Is that how you're using this?
So therapeutic, dude. I tell people all the time, like that's probably the bigger impact of growing than anything else. Like, yeah, you're going to save money and you're going to grow better weed than you had, and it's going to be cleaner, and you're going to be able to choose your strains. But what you're going to really get hooked on and feel a massive sense of loss when you don't have it is actual time in the garden. It is so therapeutic. It is so meditative. It's absolutely like going to the gym. And that's something that everybody who gardens experiences, even though we all use it for so many different things. Cannabis absolutely expands creativity. That's why there's so many musicians that have such a love affair with this fucking plant medicine. It helps you fucking play jazz better. And I don't know
Go
what
way
it is
back
about
with
this. Like,
history,
it
man.
literally does it. It helps you play music better.
If you're a history buff, man, I mean, you know, like where this came from realistically, man. The guys that started pushing, the people that were smoking in the music industry, man, were all jazz music guys, man.
Yeah, dude.
They were coming up with the
Craziest,
most
coolest
ridiculous
form of art.
songs,
Like,
man.
totally, exactly. And it was so new and different that it scared the status quo. They were horrified of jazz music. How crazy is that, dude? Like, I think that's
When
the
I think it
ultimate.
cross references too, like a lot of the jazz musicians were colored people as well too, right? So
Oh, yeah.
they were getting pushed at two different angles, and all these guys were doing was just trying to get fucking high. But the
Yep,
music
it's
was so
silly.
damn good that they're wheeling all these white girls, and then like, you know what I mean? Then the white dudes back then, they were just really had low self-esteem, and they realized that these dudes were wheeling these girls with cannabis and unreal music. Those
That's where you
fuckers
get that propaganda where it's
Yeah,
like
man.
the jazz devils let us like seducing the white woman. It's crazy. We used to do these cannabis history episodes, and if you even expanding beyond cannabis, basically every illegalization of a drug was a response to, if you plotted on a time graph, you would see it. it's a response to like an influx in that immigrant population, right? And cannabis coming from immigrants from Mexico, and the word marijuana being created to demonize this plant, which is a shame because I actually like the way the word marijuana sounds. It's like technically it's like it's a derogatory term that was created to demonize this immigrant group in the early 1900s. But we kind of like took that word back. Now it's like medical marijuana, you know, and it just kind of sounds good. So
some people still get a bit
interesting.
fired up, man, if you say marijuana or
Yeah, they get mad if you call
or
it
pot
weed.
as well. Some people don't like the pot thing, but then I think that you're just finding those people that are in those weird lanes, man, where they just want to be fucking negative and find problems on everything. I think they just need to smoke another joint or start
Yes.
growing some fucking cannabis, man.
You nailed it. And that's the type of stuff that we don't want to divide us, right? And sometimes it's as silly as that, which you can like educate someone on, right? But we gotta bring each other together. That's the thing. We shouldn't be fighting over soil versus salts. We really shouldn't. Like if you want to try to convince someone that your style is better, form a good relationship with that person. Lead by example. Don't jump down their throat, right? We shouldn't be fighting over bud washing versus not bud washing, or LAD versus HID, sativa versus indica, landrace versus polyhybrid. These are all small things, you guys. We need to focus on the big picture.
I think
Stay
we just need to be
united.
curious, man. We need to be curious, right? Like I'm curious about this whole soil thing, right? Now, when I think of soil, Jordan, basically what comes to mind, man, is a lot more work for me because I think of it in a different way. What I think of is like having bins of compost, having frigging worm castings, having XYZ, mixing words that I don't know what the fuck they mean with words that I'm never going to know what they mean, man. And I panic, right? So I'm the type of guy that's like, okay, I add this many mils to this many mils of water. I mix it in water, right? But like some of these things are so much more simple, man. Like what's a good starting base? Like what can I start with, like 3 things added in water? Is there something like that, or does it have to be that complex?
So here's what I would say, which is, to me, the most important thing that I encourage people to try is try to microbially enrich their grow. Now, when you think about microbes, these living organisms, the first thing you think about is living soil, because that's where they occur, right? And that is a great way to grow, and we'll get to there in a second. But someone like you, I might just look to incorporate more microbes into my grow, whether that means just simply adding beneficial bacteria and fungi. Even though you're using salts, which is going to kill off a lot of that bacteria, if you keep reapplying them, you're going to see a difference in your grow. Just little nuances in the way that it expresses itself, its aroma, its terpenes, your yield might go up. It will go up if you add certain types of bacteria that solubilize phosphorus and things of this nature. So I would say try by literally just adding some microbial products. Make some compost tea. Composting is easy, dude. Get a worm bin. It can fit under your sink in your apartment, and you'll have worm castings. And then you can add that to your medium. They're loaded with beneficial fungi and bacteria. The next step beyond that would be to like replace your nutrient line with like a truly organic nutrient line. Like the FOOP is a certified organic nutrient line. It's based on fish waste. And you treat it a little bit different. You need to make some adjustments here or there to get used to it. But then you're not using certain chemicals like EDTA, these acids that are kind of forever chemicals, and you don't want that sort of thing running off or being drained down the drain. It's really not good. There's ferment-based products like rooted leaf nutrients. You might switch to like a liquid organic. That's actually what I'm doing right now, Joe. I have a Pro Mix that has compost in it and worm castings and biology in it. And then I'm adding liquid organic nutrients that doesn't harm that biology. It's like a quasi living soil, right?
What kind of nutrients company is doing liquid organic? Who's running that?
I use 2 liquid organic lines, and I know there's more. But I'll just talk about my favorite 2, and our 2 partners are the FOOP, which is certified organic. I don't think many of the other organic nutrients are certified because it's very expensive. And then I will use the rooted leaf as well. So those are our 2 partners. And the bottom line is, even the word organic is like, everybody has a different definition for it.
Yeah.
For me, what organic means is it's not going to kill the biology in my soil, right? And it's not going to harm nature if it were to, for instance, run off into a river. Those are the 2. I'm not looking at certifications because certifications are expensive and they might be microbe friendly, but not certified, right?
Yeah.
There are other lines like, let me try to think here. I think cultured biologics, organics alive. These are all minerals, the N, the P, the K, calcium, magnesium, all those minerals, but they're provided in a form that's not going to kill the bacteria in your soil. It's not going to kill the fungi in your soil, like these super, super salty ones that you find in the bottles that last forever and don't come from organic sources. You know, a lot of the time they come from like seawater.
Is there like a lot more? Do you get more forgiveness in a soil as well? Like, and what I mean by that is like, if I fuck my salts up, you're pretty much fucked. If you're growing autoflowers, for sure. If you're growing photos, you might be able to bring it around, but even then, you're still kind of fucking around like a mad scientist trying to figure it out as a home grower at this point, right? But like, is there more forgiveness, man? Do you get a little bit more lenience with that?
So that's like, now we're talking if you're mineral in your soil, like a real soil grower that we talk about now. A lot of people say living soil grower. You've got a mix that's rich in minerals. All that shit that I add in the bottle, you just put it in the soil naturally, kind of mimicking what happens outside, right?
Yeah.
To a degree. And yes, absolutely. It is much, much more forgiving. Here's what you're not going to run into. Oh, I fried my plants. I added a little bit too much compost tea and I cooked my plants. That doesn't happen like if you add too much nutrients. On the other side, you might run out of nutrients and need to add more minerals to keep up with that, right? I think one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of soil growers make, if they're trying to rely on their soil carrying their plant through the whole run without adding anything, usually they are in way too small of a container. Cocoa growers, pro mix growers, we like 3 5-gallon pots. You want to be in a 25-gallon pot. You want to be in a bed when you're using soil. And that gets expensive. You're like, I got to buy all the soil to fill this bed. Trust me, it's going to last so long. You plant multiple plants in there. You're going to be able to re-amend minerals in there to keep it going. And you don't till it, right? You don't ever mix it up or break that. It's a fungal network that occurs beneath the soil. But you basically don't want to disrupt the life by tilling it. And that is true indoor organic living soil growing. And man, it's way more forgiving. It's not as hard as people think. If you get a good soil mix, you got to start with a good soil and you mulch it, you cover the top, right? So it doesn't have the light beating down on it and it's not evaporating as much. Now this thing can hold water for days, man. I mean, you can walk away from this bed for 10 days after you fill it with water. Or you can even put in an automated watering system like a blue mat and fill a reservoir and never hand water. It just kind of drips into this bed, which is a huge volume of soil. Harder to overwater, harder to underwater, more mineral content. This is why you get into a big volume of soil, not a small volume.
Now, when you're growing in these big beds, like I see the guys and they're plopping, they got 5 plants in this 4x4 kind of space, right? So you grow those out in this living soil, and then I go to harvest these plants. Is that fucking bed done now, or then can I till it and re-amend and use
Your
it?
bed will get better and better over time.
What happens to that root system, though? Like, do you have to cut underneath, or like, because I'm getting stalks, like that stalk's going to sit there, or does that eat away? Like, what happens?
Yes, that literally eats away. So the whole point is one of the reasons you mulch is to keep that biology alive in that soil. Another reason you're in a big volume is to keep that biology alive in that soil. Bacteria, fungi, protozoa, nematodes, they're all thriving in there, right? And in a small pot, it dries out too quickly, that small volume. And then you overwater and it kills all those things. So when you're in a bed, it's thriving with all of these decomposers. And when you're done with your plant, you cut it at the stump, and the roots you leave in there because they will decompose and actually create like new pathways for the next plant. You can plant right next to it. Boop. That organic matter breaks down and gets consumed by the bacteria, gets consumed by the fungi. It's really incredible.
That's pretty cool.
And the thing about the living soil bed is you want to test it. As an indoor grower, this is what the Queen of the Sun class, living soil class, is all about. She's an outside native soil grower, right? There's so much mineral content out there in the dirt. That's why you can just plug into the ground. In your bed, you're going to have to test. You're going to have to take really, it's a potting mix, and you're going to have to test it, send it off to a lab like Logan Labs, and they'll say, hey, you did 2 runs in this bed, and it's still looking good, but you need to add some magnesium, and you need to add some calcium.
So this is a good source to go for living soil?
Yes, absolutely. Shout out to Queen of the Sun. We did the living soil class tour.
Nobody sent me anything about living soil. All they sent me was just this photo here. This is the only photo they sent me. right there.
The algorithm likes what it likes. Okay.
Yeah, there was no living soil. Like everybody's in my chat. They're like, "Listen, man, you gotta get involved in the living soil class from Queen of the Sun." And I'm like, "Okay, send me the page." They send me just this booty shot over and over and over again, and I'm like, "Guys,
shout out Queen of the Sun.
this lady is a lot more intelligent." It's not just booty, guys.
I won't comment.
You're gonna get buds and booties, guys. You get buds and booties.
I will say it was great doing the Living Soil Masterclass tour. We're moving on to IPM. We're moving on to breeder classes, and we have other stuff in the works, like we talked about. But at the end of the day, we just want to switch up these curriculums. We want to get these growers as much education in as many different spaces as we can. And again, whether you're a hydro grower or a living soil grower, like, we are here to educate you, and more importantly, bring the community together. That's the whole goal of this thing, right? Is to educate and unite. And
education needs to be looked at in a different way. Like, some people think education is like 2 + 2 = 4. That's not fucking education, guys. There's a bunch of different ways to do this, man. And if you buy into a specific way and start learning from people that have done this successfully, it doesn't matter. There's other ways to do it. Just figure out what way works best, man. We're just trying to get you in the garden. One good way to do that, guys, is with the giveaway, because you're going to have a chance to win some beans. All you got to do is put in #FastBuds giveaway, man, and you're going to have a chance to win some beans. We actually give away brand new FastBuds. Well, I don't know why I said brand new. They're brand new, guys. Spanking new, man. But we give away beans, man, and there's actually pretty cool because, Jordan, man, like you said, the community's coming together. I'll get like an inbox about 6 months down the road, and they're like, check out these flowers. And these people are like, they're just doing it with their own means. Some of them are growing it in like their windowsill, man, and they're getting buds, and they're smoking like 2 joints off it. They're not getting a crazy amount, but they're getting super high, right? So it's pretty cool, man, to just see that passion flourish. Because, like, for you, man, when did you like know that you were going to do this, man? Because you're doing this now, man. You can't give up. You know that, right? Like, we're committed. We're young fellas, man. What age was it that you were fucking like, I got to do this, man?
Oh, thank you, dude.
We're committed. We're all in.
This. I almost became a poker player in my mid-20s as I stopped. Dude,
growing. You look like a fucking poker player, man. Daniel, what is Daniel's last name?
I look like Daniel Negreanu?
Yeah, dude. Fucking right, kind of, man. You know who people say I look like, man? They say that I look like a fucking a version of the guy from Limp Bizkit. What's Limp Bizkit's name?
Fred Durst. No.
Limp Bizkit. They said that. Durst. No, one guy was real mean, man. I'm going to tell you what he said. I'm bringing up a picture to show you guys. So he brought this picture up, okay? He goes, you look like, I kind of do look like him a little bit. Not going to lie. But you know what they said? You look like Fred Durst if he had Down syndrome. I'm like, you are so mean, dude. The droopy eyes, boys. It gets me every time.
People are mean on the internet. Don't worry.
I need an eye lift, dude. Listen, man. They will never put my fire out, man, because my fire burns so bright. Because we got a good following, man. You
know what? That's what I was just gonna say. And you talk about doing this and not quitting. Like, that shit starts to slough off. Like, the more you just focus on your mission and you make a good show, and the haters don't have the same drive. You know what I mean? I don't want to just like say the haters. Like, there's people who don't like your show, and that's totally fine. But you start to find your tribe. You start to, like you said, build this audience, this like community, this vibe. And that's what it's all about, man. Like, I love that. I see very little negativity anymore. And if you just put a lot of positivity out there, then you do the giveaways. Like, who's gonna get mad at a fucking free bean giveaway, bro?
Man,
if they get mad at that, they got a problem. If they're calling you Fred Durst and shit after the giveaway, it's like, listen.
I reach out to them anyways, man, because it comes back to that education thing, man. And maybe they're just not educated on what I'm really doing. I'm not here to steal your thunder, dude. You are the best grower of Slurricane number 7. I see it on your page, dude. All right, I know it's okay. It's okay, and you're gonna be okay because I'm not taking that. I don't want to go to that pedestal. I'm bringing on people that are pushing this community, man. And one of the reasons why we do this show from FastBuds is to really just bring more growers together, man. You know how many people we got to try autoflowers in the last 6 months? Tons, man. Hundreds of people. And here's
Dude,
the thing,
autos are
like,
fun.
you know yourself, man. There's people that are against auto flowers and pro photos. But I'm telling you right now, man, you grow an auto and you get and it's your first time growing and you're like getting weed without really worrying about anything. You're just kind of planting it and watering it. You get pumped up, man. Then you fall in love with this. And then you start trying everything out, right? So it's pretty cool.
Dude, I love, and that's another one of those subjects that divides people. I 100% stand against that. There's very few things we stand against at Growcast, and that's one of them, which is like, you shouldn't judge someone else for growing a different species of cannabis. Think about that for a second. Like, you can have your opinions, but if you're gonna lash out at someone for growing a different species of the same plant,
Yeah.
again, you just reevaluate what that is. You know what I mean? So I grew some autos last year, and they work great in the veg tent. A lot of people have a little extra space in their veg tent, and there's no reason you shouldn't be using that space for a bumper crop, in my opinion, especially when there's such great IPM protocols that work with enzymes and aren't going to leave residue. So you can just kind of hit the whole tent with those.
I think they're like circuit trainers too, man. Like, it's funny how all these analogies we talk about, you're on the same page as me, man. They all come back to like just your regular overall body, right? And like, one of these things that we do is we go to the gym. I think autos are like going to the gym, man, because you can just turn them over. And like, you're going to fuck up a lot on them, man. You're going to overwater probably your first 10 autos. But then once you dial one in and you're like, fuck, that's how much water that needs. It really helps you with your other side of your growing too, with any sort of plant. Like, I left my garden for the first 2 weeks and my wife overwatered because she's used to watering houseplants. So it can really kind of dial you in, right? It's like hitting that punching bag, man. Get in there, repetition, keep growing more and more genetics. You're going to get better, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. You just hit the next set.
Yeah, just hit the next set, man, and pump it out. I'm not even a gym goer, man. I think the biggest gym grower is Mr. Canuck, man. He's the only one of us that's all fucking jacked
I saw a fucking
up.
picture recently, and I was like, what the he's shredded.
He's jacked, man. Fucking right.
I hadn't seen one of the pictures where you could just see him in normal clothes, and then he was like flexing or whatever, and I was like,
dude.
holy fucking, this guy's a monster.
He's throwing a fucking
In a good
scoop
way.
of Gaia Green in every smoothie, man. He's rocking it out,
Exactly,
man.
bro.
He's all pumped up on that 444, man. All purpose.
That's another great microbial-friendly product line that every fucking Canadian grower that I meet uses. Every time I meet a grower, there you go. You use it. You fucking use your shit.
Yeah, I use it.
They say, here's what Canadian growers say to me. First of all, they're super polite and they're super kind every single time. And then they're like, I use Stepwell soil,
Yeah.
And then they say I use Gaia Green. And I'm like, of course you do. That's like, it's really funny.
I run it with the Pro Mix, man. It's simple, man. I like how I can just I pre-mix I'm usually using Pro Mix HP or BX depending on what they got at the store. But I'll just like a minute in basically 2 big Tupperware containers you get at Walmart. I'll split up the soil. I'll pre-mix it all. And then I'll mix those into my little tiny 1 gallons. I don't start it until the 1 gallons. When they're in a solo cup, I just kind of leave them. Or if it's an auto, then I go right to a 5 gallon. And I just mix it, man, and I'm good to go until, like, realistically, like, second week of flower. And then I'm like, then you got a top dress, and then you're starting to push those areas. But it's simple, man. I don't know how organic it is or how healthy it is, but it's fucking simple.
No, that's absolutely. I'm pretty sure that the Gaia Green has really natural and very benign ingredients. And the Pro Mix, like Pro Mix, you find it everywhere. Like, it's a big chain thing, but man, that's coming from up north where you guys are. It's Canadian peat, and people say what they want about peat in the environment, but Canada is the most responsible harvester of peat. They specifically harvest in such a manner that it doesn't permanently destroy and deplete these peat bogs. And you can still argue, like, yeah, how sustainable do you want to go? Again, do you want to get nitpicky? But at least you Canadian producers, you're super conscious of the environment up there, and Pro Mix is a Canadian peat moss based mix, inert, right? Not a rich soil. Pro Mix is what my base starts with, and it's just super clean. It's super consistent. I like Pro Mix, and I recommend it to new growers because I know it's clean, I know it's consistent, and like I said, the Canadian peat bog harvesters actually are using responsible practices when they harvest.
So when does Pro Mix become soil? When does it become soil? How do you make
you
it soil?
Add all that other mineral content, right? Well, first of all, like, I don't like to do this because it's like it's kind of nitpicky.
I'm
but
just
like,
fucking with you anyway.
Oh, I thought you were asking a real question.
Well,
That's so
I am,
funny.
but like what I was trying to get at is some guys are like, "Oh, that's not soil yet." That's not soil yet. Like, you need to add in this to make it soil, right?
Bro, oh my God, don't get me started. It's true, because like truly nothing except for what's in your backyard is soil technically. What we're growing in is like a modified potting mix: peat, perlite, and compost. That mix, you know what I mean? Popularized by Clackamas Coots mix. That's a potting mix. The difference between that and what's in your backyard is a bunch of mineral content. It's like it's 60% rocks in your backyard, right? If you had that in your bed, it would be way the fuck too heavy. So there's differences, and you're right. Like, people are saying, oh, that's soil, but it's not living soil. That's not native soil. That's a modified growing medium. And I'm like, listen, as long as we know what we're all talking about, right? That's the important thing here.
I think it just cycles back, man, to what we were saying, man. It's just, we got to get people motivated to get in the garden, man, and start growing. And I think we got the chat running, man. They loving everything you said to say. We actually,
thank you.
This show normally runs an hour, and we're an hour in without even, like, I didn't even get to really any of the questions that I really even had, because we just chatted really out and freely, man. I would love to actually have you on again, man, to really dive into a lot of the questions the chat has, because there's a little bit more kind of specific questions that I knew would take more time and really kind of a little bit more advanced. And I think some of those things are really on this hash thing, man. So that course is going to be a good hit. So maybe when you get on top of the course and you want to do the hash thing, maybe we bring you back on again and we'll chat about it again, because you were a great guest, man. We flew through the time. I just wanted people to know who you were and where to find you, man. So real quick, let them know where they can find you one more time.
100%. And yeah, I'd love to come back on. Maybe we can do a double. I don't know if you ever do double guest appearances, but Nick is going to teach not only the production of hash, but also growing for hash. There's certain nutritional differences and actually things like watering strategies that you might do different whether you're producing for flour or for producing for rosin. So
if there's one thing about Grower Joe, man, I am always down for a three-way, all right? I'm always down for a three-way.
Christ, yeah.
Let me know where we can find you real quick, man. Where can we find you?
I have to say, I like your crass style. I think that's missing from the community, and because you're lovable, you're Canadian, right?
Dude,
like
we're just
you can totally
say
that
growers,
sort of thing.
Dude. We're just growers. We're just growers, man.
Let's see here. People can find me Spotify, growcastpodcast.com, cast on Instagram. Any podcast app. Go ahead and find us. Dude,
download them, boys.
Awesome,
Spotify is where I find them, guys. You're going to want to find them over there. Listen, Jordan, man, you've been one hell of a fucking guest, man. I've got a list of like 25 questions here. But we have Heather for like an hour. Next time, you know what? We're going to have to do like I'd like to bring you back, do that three-way combo, get the rosin talk going, because that's something I'm so interested in, man. I'm actually got so many questions about like really what you need for a pressed, what's kind of recommended, so on and so forth, what micron bags you're pressing with, like all the simplicity stuff. I'm going to be well engaged, man, like I've been at going to Disney for the first time. So I think it'd be great for you guys to even capture some of that and also get the community engaged, man. So
I'm game, man.
Thank you so much for coming on. Chat, thank you for being here, man. That's Jordan River, guys. I'm Grower Joe, and this is Cannaflix. Have a good Sunday. Before I leave, guys, real quick, actually, make sure you head over to Home Grow TV 40K giveaway. That's happening in about an hour. Listen, guys, it's been fun, man. Thanks for tuning in, man. That's it for me, guys. Have a good one.